Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first year episode in 2022 with I Am Christina DiArcangelo. And with me today, my first ever guest for 2022. I'm so happy that it's Shari Jo Watkins. Thank you so much, Shari Jo, for joining me today. I really, really appreciated cleaning the year up with you, being on your show 2 days in a row in December. And I opened up my year with you this year. So thank you so much for joining us today. And why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So first, let me tell you, thank you so much. And it was kind of a blessing. Like when we did 2 days in a row, I did everything in the world to try to fix the video. It turns out it was my internet provider was having challenges the whole time. But it really gave us a chance to get to know each other, and and then being able to start the year off with you. What a blessing for me. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So, you ask a loaded question, like, tell us about you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the girl that's never been accused of being short on words. And, and really when I think about like, who am I, right? It's very easy for people to talk about what they do when you ask them who they are, okay? And in reality, it's two completely different things, right? I believe that the epitome of becoming yourself has very little to do with what you do, and that inside pieces, right? Like who you know that you are, what you stand for, what your values are, what your beliefs are. And it isn't until you know those things that then that what can really come to fruition, right? So I was that girl that spent most of my life believing that something was horribly wrong with me. And the reason that I felt that something was wrong with me is because everybody told me there was, right? And it wasn't like they were doing it to be hurtful. I just wasn't like everyone else. I learned to read at a very early age. I was full of energy. I talked a lot, and I ended up spending a lot of my childhood grounded just for things like can't sit still, distracts other children, works ahead of the class. And things like that. Meanwhile, getting straight A's, right? So I have a hair in my eye. There we go. So I learned at a very, very early age that it was not okay to be who I was. Mm-hmm. And it took a lot longer to unlearn that than it did to learn it, right? I'm not saying I was very good at learning it, right? And doing it along the way, because I really never did feel as though I fit in, right? Mm-hmm. And so I learned to quiet my enthusiasm. I learned to try to fit into groups. I learned to try to be what these people were, so that I could fit over there. And it even carried into my professional life, where as I kind of reached a point where I had this tag of, she doesn't really hold down a job. Well, because I could only stay a couple of years, right? Until I learned everything that I needed to learn and mastered it. And then it was like, okay, now what?
Right. You were building your toolbox.
Yeah. Like now what? Right. And I didn't know that back then that was okay. Right. It wasn't. People would look at your resume and be like, oh, she doesn't stick around a long time, and what it was really doing for me was preparing me inside and out to be able to do what I do now, mm-hmm. And and I didn't even know, like, sometimes we just have to be okay in the being, right? Yeah. And in the doing, and just be willing to be present. So, so again, I spent a lot of times in, food and beverage management and healthcare administration, always coaching, teaching on the side, right? And, I sing, I love my cats, I like to have fun. I like to believe I'm kind of organized, although I'm probably not as organized as I think I am. As I grow and as I do more things, I realized that there were each piece of the things that I did had a purpose down the road that I couldn't see, right? And so, I'm 53. I just turned 53 3 days. Wait, what is today? The 3rd. On the 30th, I turned 53.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. Thank you very much. And, so it's, it's just a number. I'm like the Richard Gere of girlhood. I just keep getting better. It wasn't until I was 42 that I made a decision that I was no longer going to feel bad about who I was, and that I was no longer going to try to be less than I am. And so I had this strategic plan to exit healthcare at that time. And not that I don't help people in healthcare, because I do, but I was sitting behind a desk, being in administration, worrying about Medicare penalties and staffing ratios and, all that kind of stuff, when I knew there was something more. And really that's kind of I've always been that motivator, that positive person that, if you bring me something, I'm going to find something good in it and show you where there's a positive outcome. So for me, it was kind of like a natural given. Like I spent most of my life talking. I wanted to be a speaker, right? I spent most of my life, teaching people. I don't believe that we're given gifts and talents and skills for any reason other than to share them. You're not supposed to keep that stuff to yourself. You're supposed to give it away.
Right.
So that's who I am. So now I'm still that kind of scattered person. And listen, I almost fell into the same trap as a coach, right? You have to have a niche. You have to have just this thing. You have to do just that. Well, no, that's not how I was made, right?
Right.
If I have the capacity to help you from an executive level that allows you to help your team, well, then why shouldn't I? If I have the capacity to help you grow your small business, why shouldn't I, right? If I have the capacity to help you understand your brain better so that you can speak better and grow yourself, why shouldn't I? So, I'm kind of one of those oddball people that love being the oddball at this point in life. Because I think the world is full of magic, and the universe is always working for you if you let it. Right.
That's one of the reasons, whenever I have a guest on, I like to draw a parallelism between me and my guest for the audience, right? Because I want people to understand why I bring the people I do on the show, because I purposely bring people on the show. You can tell from the previous lineups and now listening to those shows why I brought on who I brought on. I did the same with you because we also are the same in the sense that we realize that we cannot conform to what society wishes of us as humans. It's just not in our DNA.
And no longer do you want to after a certain point. You're like, wait, what was I trying to do?
Right. The other thing is you have your hands in multiple pots, so to speak. And I'm not talking about the cannabis industry when I say pots, because you know how everybody likes to do a little bit of that with me. But you have your hands in a lot of different pots because of your skill base. And that's me too, right? Because I'm all over the place. And if you look at us as professionals, it's almost like we're just scattered, like here, there, everywhere. But that's not why. We are where we are because we're here to help people, whether it's you're helping them, coach them, just like you eloquently said, whether it's someone you're trying to help move their business up to the next level, or helping them build a foundation with the talent that they have to ensure that they're building a proper culture. Very similar to what my friend Alicia Houston does, who her episode will be airing very soon. And you guys are going to meet as well because you have similar, skills and goals. But the fact that you believe in a higher power also is something that resonates very much with me, not only in a spiritual way, but also in the universe. And the fact that you understand healthcare, because not a lot of people really understand healthcare, opening up the box, so to speak. So I just needed to tie all that stuff in there so that people could understand why I wanted you on the show today was because there's so many things behind Shari Jo Watkins that Shari Jo doesn't always show everybody. So
I don't. It's funny. Like last night, I put out a roundup of 2021, and and I don't generally do that. Like I don't always put out a lot of personal stuff. I'll put out something funny, or I'll put out something silly or just a small post or just to keep engaged. And I don't share a whole lot. But when I went through my list of all the things that I actually did and helped people in 2021, I was like, holy cow, I was like busy girl, And but I think that when you find what you really love and you're willing to accept it as a blessing, right? It doesn't feel like it's it's work, you know. I mean, not going to say it was all easy, because, you know, 2020 and 2021, there were moments that we were like, you know, get out, you know. But I think if you're willing to embrace even those times, you will find new paradigms inside yourself, right? And it's a choice, you know. It's always a choice, and it's always a decision. You can stay where you are and be happy there, or you can grow. And I can't sit still.
No. I mean, and that's why you're successful, in my opinion, you know, is the fact that you're constantly, you're welcome. The fact that you acknowledge that there's things you have to learn as a human, and that you actively reach out to those learnings. I do the same thing. Listen, I don't know everything. I don't. I mean, I learn lessons from my kid. He's not even 9 yet, you know, like all the time. I'm like, holy cow, oh, wow. You know, like, geez. You know?
But, you know, here's the thing, right? You learn those things from him because you have those blinders taken off, and you're willing to recognize there's opportunity in everything, you know? You know, like when I have downtime, you know, and not saying that I don't, like, I can play games on my phone. Sometimes I do that to, like, you know, just unwind because it's mindless, right? And just to, you know, to chill out my brain. But, you know, then there's other times when I'm like, okay, well, what course can I take now, right? And, you know, and so I look and see, what am I drawn to? Because how can that put me in a position to help the next person? You know, because if you have a heart for helping, you know, I'm that person. I would rather give out with no expectations of receiving back, because it comes.
Right. That was like a discussion we had last year offline, you and I, and it was about something we were talking about. And I said, hey, listen, we're here. You and I are here to help each other, whatever that looks like and whatever that ends up being. So we're not, you know, neither one of us is like, oh, you know, because that's not what we do, right? We do things to help people and share whatever it is that we can to impact them in a positive manner, whatever that is. But in turn, they're also helping us, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, and I imagine, like, I'm going to go into flower child mode here, right? Like, imagine the impact that, you know, people could make in the world if, like, every day you approached your day saying, okay, what can I give today to help somebody else be better in their own space, as opposed to, okay, what am I going to get out of this? Right. You know, and I'll tell you a funny story. And I'm still not sure if I'm going to do it yet, but I might have to, because now I'm saying it out loud. I have on my LinkedIn, you know, invitations, I have 52 subscribe to my, you know, to my newsletter, attend my events, do this, you know, and these are all from people that have never paid attention to anything that I've done. They've never responded to, you know, any events that I put out there, and, you know, or any of these things. And I think, okay, so, like, how can I do this effectively to show that I'm supporting you to make that effort, right? And, you know, so, like, I just want to say, like, I'll do yours if you do mine, right? But there's got to be a way to be able to break that barrier, right? Especially, like, in the coaching and consulting space. There are so many people, like, that are like, no, we do the same things. No, we don't do the same things, right?
No.
We do different things. Like, there's a lot of people that couldn't handle my energy, and I get that, right? Not for everyone. But that's not for everyone. But there's a lot of people, though, that I couldn't handle either. You know, like, for example, when I was in healthcare, like, I have a dementia practitioner, you know, specialization, right? And I can teach families really, really well, and I can teach about behavior, and, you know, I can bring it to a level that, you know, to help people be able to understand how to, you know, to understand behaviors and how to connect. But when I was an activity director, I couldn't work on that floor. I caused chaos. I had too much energy. I moved too quick. I was too everything, you know, I was too much, you know, and recognizing that sometimes you're not the right fit.
Right.
Is what opens the door for you to be able to be the right fit somewhere else.
Right. And not being frustrated by that. Right. I had something happen to me last year that was kind of like surprising. And it was because, and I talk a little bit about it when I launched the corporate bullying episode that I shot with Alicia right before the new year ended. So hers will be coming out soon. And I'm not trying to steal and I didn't talk about this very specifically because I talked about bullying in a sense, but I had something happen to me in December that kind of like caught me off guard a little bit. It was early December where, because I stand in my own conviction regarding integrity and who I am as a human, the fact that I will not put up with injustice for people. And whether it's a patient or it's employment, or if it's just bullying altogether, I have to stand up for the people that can't, right? That's just threaded into who I am. So in that instance, working in that type of environment for me, it was not beneficial for me, right? And so when there was a parting of the ways, which wasn't done appropriately, in my opinion, I realized from this example that I was still attracting people that do those types of things, right? So for me, I was like, oh, and the time it was painful. It was like, oh man, there's a revenue issue now. Like there's all this stuff going on, but then there's the heart issue, right? The heart issue, which is that, did you just do this? Like you did this. What were you? So I don't belong there,
Right.
And that's okay.
That's an opportunity, right? Because, in that you got to realize, you got to remember the connection between the heart and the mind, right? You got to recognize what you were attracting, right? And sometimes like we think that we're trying to attract the right things because we're talking about what we don't want.
Right.
And what we don't want is, if we're doing that, we're attracting what we don't want because that's what we're talking about.
Right.
So you had such a great opportunity, not saying that it didn't hurt, you know what I mean? Or that it wasn't awkward or that it didn't have an impact. But I think that we all have to go through that sometimes.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like get, we have to get that like wake up call, like, it's like that little smack in the face saying, hey, wake up.
Yeah. I mean, I know I won't go into this too much, but you had shared with me last year when I was on your show, and then privately when we talked offline, that something had happened to you that's kind of similar to what had happened to me, but a little different, but similar type of behavior. And it hurt. I remember you talking to me about it, and it was upsetting because you gave it your all. You gave it your all, and then it blew up. And but it taught you so much, right? And now know, hey, listen, I'm not going down that path now this time because I know I'm going to get.
It doesn't mean I'm not going to use the things that I learned, to to do things better. But what it does mean is that I had I had to allow myself to feel it. And then I had to wake up and recognize, wait a minute, I can either feel broken, or I can be like, okay, where's my super glue? Because, you can't break me, right?
No.
You just have to feel it and then move on. But ignoring the feeling and not acknowledging it allows it to fester. And I kind of equate it to like a venomous snake, right?
Yeah.
Like bitterness and resentment. Like, so if you get bitten by a poisonous snake, that snake does not jump up, bite you, and hang on until you're dead. Right?
No.
All it does is inject the poison and sit back and wait, right? It'll do its own job. So, and that's why you have to get the poison out, right? You take the poison out so that you can live, to win another day, not live to fight another day, but live to win another day. That's,
it's funny that we're talking about this, and I swear I did not set this up for this reason. But I know you saw my last post for 2021 where I was talking about all the stuff. Like once I sat down, just like you said, once you sat down, you start thinking about it, like, holy cow, a lot was done in 2021, but we had our heads down and we were working. So we just don't see it until the year is over. At the end of my post this year or last year, I said, you've all seen now that when I go down, I get back up. And when I do, you better look out. That's the same thing. Like, listen, you can try, but I'm getting back up and I'm getting up stronger because now you've taught me something. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
and if you see behind me, I have a cow, I have
I
a
love it.
rhinoceros, and I have an elephant. Okay, so and the rhinoceros, I've always felt like I needed to be like a rhinoceros. As a matter of fact, my son and his friend made me this really, really cool wall hanging that I'll show you at some point. It has the story of the rhinoceros. Like, the rhinoceros has 3-inch thick skin, right? Like, you can poke them, you can prod them, you can even knock them down. But when they get up, you better run, right? Because they're going to charge you. And, for the longest time, I felt like that was who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I got stuck in that mode of feeling like I needed to be ready to fight at any moment in time. I needed to be able to be defended. And what I really needed to do was spend more time in that jungle and learn to appreciate the elephants.
Right.
Because, elephants are, it takes between 22 and 25 months for an elephant to be born, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
That gestation period is that long because you're giving birth to something majestic. It's huge, right? And it wasn't until, and I actually heard that from a pastor, one of the pastors that I follow. It was a story about the elephant, and you were comparing it to hamsters, right? Hamsters can like bing, 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 and they're only pregnant for 12 to 15 days or 20 days max. Like bing, 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 and there's a million of them, right? But they're teensy weensy, and their lifespan is super short, right?
Right.
So when you feel like it's taking so long, you got to think, okay, well, wait a minute, I'm giving birth to something majestic and huge that is going to have massive strength and power and been appreciated all over the globe. And so, and then of course the cows, I just love cows.
My son, when he was a baby, and he would go to daycare, there was this awesome, where my old house was, it was very, very close to farmland, much closer to where my house is now. There's still very rural areas, a lot of horse farms, but like these were cow farms. And right. I would drive him home the back way all the time because I like to take the back roads. And we would come up on on the pasture, and there were the cows. And I would have to put the damn window down. And it didn't matter if it was 2 degrees out, because, we're in Philly. It did not matter that little boy wanted that window down so he could moo at the cows every day.
Okay, so here's something else that we have in common, right? Like, I always take the back roads. Like, the car that I have now is the first standard or first automatic I've ever had. Like, I'm a back road kind of girl. And, I live in Ohio, just across the Pennsylvania line, right?
Yep.
And I'm always, like, my husband just put new struts on my car and boots because I'm always driving on the back roads, right? And but every time we see them, it's like they're numbered. Like, I mean, like, okay, hi L42, and I'm like, hi, cow friends. And one of these days, I'm gonna look and actually count how many pictures of cows I have on my phone. To me, when I fell in love with them because they are so human-like, right? If you've ever watched, baby cows play, right?
Mm-hmm.
They play just like people, and the way that they learn how to be, adult cows, and and so I just fell in love with them. And another thing I always notice is, like, there'll be like all these black and white cows and black cows, and but there's only one brown cow usually.
Yeah.
One brown cow.
What the hell? I don't understand that. I've noticed that too. I'm like, but one. Why isn't there another? Why isn't there one that's biracial? Like, like black and brown. How come there's just one brown one?
Right. It's weird. But I think that you have an opportunity, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, to learn, right? If you're willing.
Right. That's it. That's it. That's that. And we're going to have to end now because we went a little bit over, but that's an important lesson, though, seriously, to end with, is that if you're willing to learn.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is listening.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. What can I take from that? Okay. What do I need to get rid of for that? And then okay, let's take it to the next level.
And how do I, course correct or pivot? Like that's really, where do you get back? How do you get back on track again? Once you figured out what happens.
Right? That's like a Christmas show. Put one foot in front of the other.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, I'm going to have to call our show to an end for today, but you guys know we will definitely be having Shari Jo back on, because there's some stuff that we're already starting to work on, that we started working on at the end of last year, that we're starting to work on this year. And you guys will all be hearing more of that. Once we get a little bit more of our arms around it, we will officially launch. So give us give us about a month and we'll be back on talking about that. Because you know how we are, guys. You know, we roll, we go fast.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Shari Jo, for sharing yourself with us today. And,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And just, sharing the uncomfortableness of how your life started off and all the things that you learned to make you who you are today, and the toolbox building that happened along the way. I mean, there's just so many things, and people should follow you. Well, how's the best way to get a hold of you, by the way?
So, I'm one of these odd people. My phone number is plastered everywhere. Like, actually, it's right behind me, right? If you just search for Shari Jo Watkins anywhere, right? SHARIJO Watkins, anywhere you'll find me, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram, Facebook. Just Google search me, you'll find all the dirt on me. It's there.
Well, I think it's a good thing, though, for everybody to be able to find you, and all of our listeners and our viewers will have hyperlinks back to you. So if they want to get in contact with you, they can, because if they need help, they should definitely reach out to you, because you have a lot to offer to a lot of different people. And
thank you.
Impact them in a positive manner. So,
I appreciate you so much, really. And truly, 2022 has the potential to be everyone's best year ever.
I think so too. I mean, honestly, I went into this year going, okay, let's see where we're going. Like, I've got it. Rocky's in the house. Like, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Yeah. Let's put it up. And I said that because one of my good friends keeps calling me Rocky now, because he's like, every time I talk to you in the morning, you're down there hitting that bag. I'm like, you're damn right I am. I start my day off every day hitting that bag. Like, let's go. Let's get it going. Got to get it in, right? And that's kind of how we are. We got to get it in as female leaders. We got to get it in. And 2022 is our year. So let's take it.
Inertia is your friend, man.
That's right.
Object in motion will stay in motion.
That's right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for joining me today. And remember, everyone, as I always say, we are the same. I am Christina DiArcangelo. Thank you so much.